What up, everyone? It's your boy, Patty, also known as Tox or Toxin. You can call me any of all of those three options. It's up to you to decide. And welcome back for the newest entry of Toxtells. I hope you guys have been enjoying these stories so far. I know that I have been enjoying telling them to you, so hopefully it's a mutual enjoyment in this situation. And today I got a story for you guys, another quick but funny, hilarious one, and I think probably in many ways very relatable. But I'm not sure, so let me know down in the comments if you find this story relatable to your own past experiences in some way, shape, or form. So anyways, this story is the story of how my brother and I got caught by my aunt on Christmas Eve. Got caught doing what? I'm sure is the question you're all asking yourselves right now. And we are going to get to that. And you'll probably have an idea pretty quickly once I get into the story and the background and the context around it. But before I get into that setup, I have to say this very quickly as a disclaimer. And I have said it, I think, at least once before in one of my videos involving drug usage. I have quite a history in my past of just a lot of different things and experimenting and such, so I'm probably going to just sound like a broken record eventually, but I do not endorse any use of any illicit substances of any kind. I don't drink anymore. I don't really partake in anything except for some marijuana every once in a while, and that's it. And I still don't even necessarily endorse that, because there's complications with that stuff too, depending on who you are. I think it's great for some people, but not great for others, so I am not in any way, shape, or form saying, hey, go do any of the stuff that I do in these stories or have done, because I don't endorse it. Make your own decisions and make the right one, which is probably just to stay sober, because it's usually better. As much as I have had a history in my past of using different illicit substances, and sometimes for extended periods of time, but with age and with more wisdom and more knowledge, I have come to find that being sober is just typically much better. And now that we have that disclaimer out of the way, we can get right into the story. Now, when I was 13 years old, I started experimenting with marijuana, which is a pretty young age. Another thing I definitely don't endorse. I absolutely do not endorse that. If I could do it again differently, I probably would, and for a myriad of different reasons, but we don't need to get into all of that right now. Just know that I absolutely definitely don't endorse starting to experiment with marijuana or any drugs by the age of 13. It's too young. Most people, it's like 16 to 18, I feel like, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm not sure because that's not what I did, but what I did was stupid. I had older brothers, and I'm not saying that to skirt any accountability. It just was a lot easier for me to access things that kids my age didn't usually have access to. So, with that being said, by the time I was 13, I had, I think, tried smoking weed once. And I don't think it worked, if I remember correctly. I know a lot of people have that experience for the first time. They smoke, but they maybe don't know how to inhale properly, or maybe just the psychoactive properties of marijuana have no effect on them at first because their system's not used to it. I don't know exactly the science behind it, but a lot of people do report that as their first experience, and that was my first experience. I remember acting stoned because, like, not just placebo, but I think I just was, like, playing into it. I like the way I thought I should act. I was with two of my friends from back in the day that were older than me, and they had, like, this pipe that they made out of bathroom sink piping, like plumbing materials. This metal pipe, and some probably just dirt mids that we packed into that thing and ripped it all down. And I took quite a few, hits on it, and I really don't know if at that time in my life I knew how to inhale properly. I was definitely a noob. The only thing I had ever smoked at that point were Philly cigars, which were these really cheap cigars that people bought literally only to rip open and fill with weed. And I smoked them, like just the actual cigars, with my friends when I was like 12 or 13. So, first time smoking, 13, didn't do shit. My friend that I smoked with at the time, He was my next door neighbor. He's like my best friend. I grew up with him my whole life. And for the sake of this story, we're just going to refer to him as Nate because I haven't gotten the chance to ask him yet about using his name in stories, which I'm sure he'll probably be okay with, but I'm not going to just assume it and do it. So, Nate, he had been smoking with my brother for some time because, well, my one brother, the one that I'm talking about in this story, is 6 years older than me. Nate was 2 years older than me. So he was like 15 or 16, I believe, at this time. And my brother was okay with smoking with him because of his age. He didn't think it was too unethical to be smoking with a 15 or 16-year-old when he was, I think he was 18 at the time. I can't remember. So I was always feeling left out of that. But I ended up smoking with Nate finally when I was 13, closer towards my 14th birthday. And then when I was 14, my brother was like, all right, it's been long enough. I think I could smoke with you now and not feel terrible about it. And we went out to the woods with a joint, and I got stoned. Very stoned for the first time, despite the first time that I ever smoked with Nate and the other friend that didn't really do anything. This time I got blazed, and that's how I knew that I wasn't actually stoned my first time, because I thought back to that first time, and I was like, oh, that was nothing like this. I was definitely not high at all. I must have just thought I was, because I was blazed on my 14th birthday when I smoked my first ever joint with my brother. And after this first time of actually being stoned and knowing what it really felt like, I took to weed immediately. And it, took some time for me to start smoking like daily. It eventually built up to that, but for many years after this, I was a full-fledged stoner. Completely blazed, burnout, 95% of the time. So with this came these activities that me and my brother started doing together now that I smoked. And one of those activities that we would do, one of the main ones we would do, was, well, we basically would always find any excuse to get out of the house and go ride around in my brother's car and take burn cruises. And we loved to go to the movies. We had this place in my hometown area. Don't worry about the title of the place or what it was called, but basically it was like the discount movie theater where after movies would come out in theaters and do their, like, I don't know, 3-week run, I don't remember how long it would be for new movies, they would go to this theater right after that once it was, like, now available on DVD and stuff like that. And because of that, they would offer these showings of these movies for, like, $2. And we called it the Dollar Theater. So we would go get really stoned, and we would go watch whatever ridiculous random movie we could find at the Dollar Theater playing at that time. And that was just one of many activities me and my brother, and a lot of the time Nate, would go and do when we go on these burn cruises. And even though all these activities were really fun, everything was just basically an excuse. An excuse to go get stoned out of our gourds, away from the prying eyes and noses of our parents, especially my mom's, because she can smell anything from a mile away, which sucks when you're growing up and you're trying to smoke weed. So that brings us to the night in question that this story is all based around, because when this happened, it was when we were out on one of our burn cruises, just me and my brother. We had found a reason to go out and drive somewhere, and that reason was, it was Christmas Eve, and our mom asked us to go get, I think it was candy of some sort, or maybe cookies. I can't remember, but it was something Christmassy, some sort of Christmassy treat that she wanted us to have. We didn't have any of, or we were out of, we needed, for the festive night of Christmas Eve, of course. My parents were really pretty big with the Christmas thing back then. Now, not so much, but I digress. So basically, me and my brother were sent out Christmas Eve. It was probably like 8:30, 9 p.m., maybe even 9:30 p.m., somewhere in that ballpark. So we leave, and we get right down to business, doing what we always did, which would be my brother driving, of course, because he was the one with the car and the license, and me packing and preparing the bowl to smoke of married iguanas. And I don't know about you guys, but this is probably something that the older listeners will probably relate to, especially the ones who started smoking weed in their teenage years. But back then, you would just get so stoned. It was like insane. It was like tripping, honestly. Like, that's what I always kind of compare it to these days because you just, tolerance wasn't as high and you weren't used to it as much, at least because I wasn't. I was so young and, still pretty new to it. And you would just get so, just like painfully, violently high. And that's exactly what we did. We got so stoned, as we always did, smoked a couple bowls to our faces, and then we arrived at the grocery store, our local grocery store in the town I grew up in. And we proceeded to get out of the car, walk into the grocery store, eyes as red as the devil's, you know what, and just like you could blind us with fishing line at that point. That's how high we were. Especially me. I really was not a pro at handling myself ripped out of my mind in public like my brother was at that time. So we're in there and we're looking for the cookies or candy, whatever it was we were getting for our mother. And we're just, being stoners, being so blatantly high in public in our hometown grocery store. And we turn a corner and we quite literally almost physically run into one of our aunts. And it was one of our like coolest aunts too. She was like always very chill. But what was weird about this is that she didn't live in our hometown. She lived a couple towns over. Not like so far away that it would make no sense for her to ever be at our local town's grocery store, but far enough away that it was weird she was there at that time on Christmas Eve. And of course, we just freeze up. And of course, my brother handles the situation a lot better right off the bat. He actually greets my aunt, gives her a hug. Then I do too, but I'm like, I don't think I even like say much of anything. I like mumble, hey, something like that. Give her a hug while I'm staring at the ground. And we have a quick interaction where it's just not natural, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not conversating in a very relaxed kind of way or nature, and my aunt can tell. My brother, of course, is doing much better than I am in this situation. However, my aunt can tell there's something going on with him too. So it's just very obvious. And at the time, at my age, I didn't know if it was obvious that we were high or it was just obvious that we were weird or acting weird, acting like we got caught or something. So the very awkward, very uncomfortable interaction with our aunt finally ends. We say goodbye, give her a hug. We go get what we need to get, and we get out of that store. But once we're out of the store, my brother says, hey, just go to the car. It's unlocked. I'll be out in a second. And he proceeds to turn around and walk right back into the grocery store. And at the time, I had no idea why. But I wasn't going to question it. I was too ripped to really process or question anything at any sort of efficient type of level. So he comes back out about 5 minutes later, lets me know, hey, I went back in and I talked to her. He like apparently intercepted my aunt on her way out of the store, and he said that he like covered for me. And I was like, covered for me? What about you? And he was like, nah, I was fine. Come to find out, of course, he wasn't, but like he just did much better than I did in the situation. But his covering for me was telling my aunt, she was like, yeah, what's going on with Pat? And he was like, oh, he's just really down. He's just been feeling really down lately. That's like that was his genius plan of covering for me. That was his genius lie. Oh, he's just been feeling down. Eyes red as shit, almost not even fully open, staring at the ground, giggling, whatever it was I was doing. That was his idea of what was a covering for me, interestingly enough. Hilarious because he's, stoned mind thinking that he had it completely figured out, but as we will come to find out, of course he didn't. And we were still shitting our pants because the thing about the situation is it was Christmas Eve. And this is back when we used to go to my grandparents every Christmas day, every year. And who was going to be at my grandparents', as she was every year? Our aunt we just ran into, stoned as fuck, in the grocery store. So we were like, oh, she's going to just rat us out tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. Obviously, there's no other way this could go. So, fast forward to the next day. It's Christmas Day. And we go to my grandparents. And me and my brother are nervous. We're not freaking out, but we're pretty nervous. And, in the midst of the festivities and everybody talking and conversating and catching up, our aunt walks up to me and my brother and she goes, "Hey guys, let's go for a walk out in the back field. We got to talk." And me and my brother look at each other like, oh shit, here it is. Here we go. So we proceed to follow our aunt outside. We go to the back and we start walking the back fields with her. And almost immediately she turns to me and my brother and she goes, "Look, guys, I'm going to just level with you. I know you guys were stoned last night. And now we are officially shitting our pants, me and my brother. But we don't say anything yet. We don't even try to refute it or deny it. We just let her talk." And she goes, "It's okay, guys. Don't freak out. Don't worry. I didn't tell your parents. I'm not going to tell your parents. I just needed to talk to you guys about it because, firstly, I do it too." And me and my brother look at each other like, oh shit. We didn't know she got down like that. So we had no idea at the time. It's so obvious now, of course, just by knowing her as well as we do, that she, of course, was a stoner at one point or another. And apparently at this time specifically, she was. So yeah, she's like, "I do it too, guys. It's not a big deal. However, Pat's kind of young." She points at me and she's like, "That's, I don't remember when I first started smoking off the top of my head, but I wasn't as young as he is. And it's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but it was so obvious when I saw you guys last night. Like, you guys were very high. And I just don't want to see you guys getting in trouble, and I want you to be safe. That's all." And the type of relief that washed over me, and I'm sure my brother at the same time, is not really describable. I was just like, an immense weight had been just lifted off of my shoulders, and I could enjoy the rest of Christmas and the festive season because after that happened the night before on Christmas Eve, I was just kind of in like a nervous headspace where I couldn't really focus on anything else. That was always in the back of my head. It was the thing that was nagging at my brain, just like unresolved, making me freak out. And after this walk, it was, it was a great conversation. We talked a little bit more about it. Nothing too crazy. No reason to go into the details other than her just being worried about us and wanting us to be safe. And to this day, we still bring it up from time to time because it's such a funny story for my aunt and me and my brother and my parents because now they know. After so many years, I can't remember when we told them, but many years later, we let them know just because it's funny. Funny story for them to hear. But that's pretty much it for this story, guys. I appreciate you tuning in again for this entry of Toxtells. Please like the video, show your support. It always helps. Leave a comment down in the comments section. Let me know what kind of story you might want to hear next, or share some of your crazy stories. And subscribe if you're new. That's it. Peace out, yo.